So guys, before starting our class, let's again, start our class with a positive thought, a positive note. So again, very beautiful lines here. Develop success from failures. Discouragement and failure are the two of the surest stepping stone to success. So guys, don't ever fear to be, have failure in your life, because failure always teaches you a new thing so that next time you do not repeat your mistake. So failure gives you experience, failure gives you encouragement. So never be afraid from failing, right? So with these positive lines, let's start with the class. So guys, today it's a continuation of the previous class. So today we'll cover another initiatives of the FSSAI, and definitely these initiatives are really really interesting, right? And you can also expect questions from these topics. So today we'll talk about clean street food hub, then RUCO initiative of the FSSAI, then training and capacity building. So all initiatives which I showed you yesterday. So we'll talk about all those in detail, right? So begin with, let's talk about FOSTEC. So guys, FOSTEC is the training and certification program, which is conducted by FSSAI along with the other private players. So basically here, training is provided to all the food business operator, right? So let's go to next slide and see in detail. So let's talk about the objective first. So objective is to help FBOs understand and comply with the Schedule 4 requirements. So guys, do you remember Schedule 4? We have covered it in detail, right? So in that schedule, there were major sanitary and hygienic requirements which the food business operators were supposed to follow, right? So majorly this training is provided in all those uh, hygiene and sanitary requirements. And do you remember there were 5 parts, right? So all those 5 parts, if you see, those 5 parts are divided in schedule 4. Those 5 parts are divided into different verticals. For example, part 1 was for food street vendors, then part 2 was for licensed food business operator, then part 3 for food business operator who are engaged in milk or milk products, and then fourth was it was for the FBOs who are associated with meat and meat products, right? So similarly, here FSSAI is providing the training to all these different type of food business operators so that they can practice sanitary and hygienic condition whenever they come in contact with the food, so that the food can be prevented from any type of contamination and adulteration, and the purest form of the food reaches to the consumer that is safe and wholesome, right? So if you see, at present FOSTEC training is voluntary. So definitely guys, this type of question can be asked, whether FOSTEC training is mandatory or voluntary, right? So its correct answer is it's voluntary. Like it, FSSAI is not putting any pressure to this food business operator to come and attend this training. But yeah, I mean, with the passage of time, if you see in the next step, if the in the next point, so FSSAI is planning to make it mandatory, right? Because this training is very very important. So as we have read, in a complete food chain, and there can be, high chances throughout the food chain of food getting exposed to different contaminants. So FSSAI is taking initiative to train all the food business operators so that safe food can reach to consumers. So if you see here, and also guys, remember this word 25. This digit is very very important. Why? Because for every food business establishment will soon be required to have at least one trained and certified food safety supervisor through FOSTEC for every 25 food held in the premises. So guys, for example, there is a head chef, right? So under that head chef, there are other 25 or more than 25 food handlers. So in that case, this person who is the head, he needs to get certified because he would be the food safety supervisor, right? So that supervisor, he must get trained. If at all, under him minimum 25 food handlers are working, right? So remember this number. So 25 food handlers, if minimum these many people are working, so this food safety supervisor must go and enroll himself with the FOSTEC training form, right? So now let's talk about next point. The food safety commissioner and the officials in all state and UT and districts are advised to coordinate with the empaneled training partners. So guys, if you see now, as you know, FSSAI is a central body, now at every state, in every state and UTs, there are state food and drug departments, right? So now FSSAI, they coordinate with all these state food safety commissioners so that they can, in their respective states, they can coordinate with the training partners. So guys, training partners here, by training partner, FSSAI means the bigger food houses. For example, Britannia. Britannia is a very big food joint, right? It's a food manufacturing company, Britannia, right? So now Britannia, they have something known as corporate social responsibility. So now all these big companies, for example, Britannia, or be it your Amul milk, or I mean, just recall any bigger brand, food brands. So these are these bigger companies. They are given the this duty to provide the FOSTAC training. So FSSAI partner with these bigger food houses to provide this training. So they are known as training partners. So now let's talk about in detail what is FOSTAC. So if you see, there are 19 certification courses offered at 3 levels. So guys, in this program, in this FOSTAC program, almost 19 certificate courses are provided to these food safety supervisors. So if you see, it is provided at 3 levels, that is basic, advanced, and special. So it would cover the entire food value chain. So if you see this under the basic level, there are 5 courses. So guys, just remember this. I mean, you need not to just mug it up, just give it a thought, right? I mean, just read through it, you would understand. So in basic course, 5 courses are provided, and these are provided for food business operator who are street food vendors. I mean, local, the people who come to sell in our streets, right? So those street food vendors. Then catering companies, for example, in marriage palaces, right? You keep any function in your house or at a marriage palace, there's a catering company, right? So those catering companies are also, they have to take the basic training. And also manufacturing, small manufacturers. And then there are certain warehouses where food is stored, or there are certain companies which take the duty of transporting the food. So even storage and transport companies, they should mandatory, I mean, it's a voluntary right now, but they should enroll in this basic training. And also retail chain, I mean, the shopkeepers basically. So even they should take this basic training. And this course is all, this basic training, if you see, it is only of 4 hours, right? So whether they can provide it in a single day or they can split it into 2 days. So basic training is of 4 hours. Then coming to advanced. So guys, if you see, again, advanced training course, it has 4 courses. That is catering, the bigger catering houses, right? They should enroll for this, the bigger manufacturing unit, the bigger storage and transport units, and bigger retailers. So they must enroll with this advanced training. So now coming to special. So guys, if you see special, so majorly high risk food, because milk, meat, and bakery, these are high risk foods, right? So if you see, special training is provided in the 9 courses. For example, FBOs who are handling milk and milk products, meat and meat products, then poultry, then fish, seafood, packaged drinking water, then bakery, edible oil, fats, health supplement. So these food business operators, they need to take this special, they need to enroll in this special training course, and they should get themselves trained, right? So now moving ahead, so if you see, the training is being delivered by FSSAI certified trainer with the help of training partners in the premises of the food businesses, in-house or in the classroom provided by the training partner. So guys, so now here there are 2 points. So first is either, so for example, Britannia is a very big company, right? So they can arrange in-house training. They need not to even send their food safety supervisor to any class. They can provide a place in their company, so that these training partners, these trainers, along with the training partners, they can just visit their manufacturing unit, and at that spot, in-house, I mean in their factory only, they would train all the food handlers, right? Or there would be another classroom which would be provided by training partners. So if they don't have much space in their manufacturing unit, they can arrange for a separate training class, right? So at the end of the training, after testing, successful candidates are awarded food safety supervisor certificate. So guys, if you see, after training, then these food safety supervisors, they are awarded by a certificate by FSSAI, which ensures that they have completed the training and they are complying with all the regulations of the FOSTAC program, right? So FSS is expected to train other food handlers. Yes. So guys, this is a very interesting thing. If you see this food safety supervisor, so this guy, he would get training from the FOSTAC training partner. Then further, he would go to his manufacturing unit and he will train all the food handlers who are working under him. So, it's a chain reaction. So FSSAI will train this person. So this person will go and train the other food handlers who are working under him. So it's a very good initiative by FSSAI to ensure safe and healthy and wholesome food to all the consumers in India. So if you see success stories, so till date, what this FOSTAC training program has achieved. So if you see in the 2 years period, more than 2,000 trainers have been trained and 12,000 training program conducted. So if you see 12,000 training program, although in comparison to Indian scenario, this number is less, but I mean, within 2 years, it's a huge achievement, right? So almost 2,000 trainers have been trained and over 3 lakh food safety supervisors, including stand or alone food vendors, have been trained. So if you see this number is high, food safety supervisors and also the food vendors, because food vendors must be trained first. What I feel, because these are the guys, I mean, they should practice hygiene at a very, very high level, right? Because they roam around the street. So these food vendors must be given a proper training, and also to ensure the training at the scale, 242 training partners are empaneled. So just don't remember these names, guys, because these are not at all important from examination point of view, just for your knowledge, because everything should not be done from the examination point of view, right? Because tomorrow you are going to be a food safety officer or technical officer. You should, I mean, you should have basic idea, what FSSAI has achieved, what they are doing, and where they are heading towards, right? So now moving ahead, so guys, let's talk about different stakeholders who are involved. So now we'll talk about who are training partners, from where they get the funding, and what is the role of different departments, for example, state departments, central department of the FSSAI, right? So first, let's talk about the food safety department of the state. Since for example, guys, for example, West Bengal, right? So West Bengal would have its own state FDA, right? Food and Drug Administration. So FDA, state FDA ensures all the functions of all the rules and regulations which FSSAI make. So state FDA's duty is to implement all those rules and regulation in their state. Right. Similarly, for example, in Haryana or in Delhi or in Punjab, so each and every state have a state FDA. So now this state FDA have a very, very big role to play. So if you see here, the role of the state food department is more crucial. See, as I mentioned, so their role is more crucial because FSSAI, it's a central unit. It cannot go throughout the country and implement these programs. So state food department, they have a crucial role since they act as a catalyst by pulling all the stakeholders together. So all these state FDAs, they should pull all the stakeholders together. For example, training partners, then they also need funding to provide this training, right? So state FDA has a very big role to play here. Right. If coming to the, so yeah, I mean, they would coordinate with all the training partners, all the food business operators, all the market association and other associations. Then comes the second stakeholder, that is training partner. So guys, training partner, if you see FSSAI IM panel, training partner will play a major role in mentoring beside training. So FSSAI would enroll few training partners and they would be responsible for training the food safety supervisors. Right. Then comes funding. So funding is very, very important because you have to arrange a hall, for example, then you have to arrange lunch for these, the people who attend the training, you have to arrange the certificates, you have to arrange the electricity, right? So funding is very crucial. So if you see, entire training and certification program involves some cost. As I said, cost is involved everywhere, right? So any food business house from their corporate social responsibility. So I also talked about CSR activities, these bigger companies, for example, Britannia or be it any bigger brand. So they have a corporate social responsibility. They allocate certain funds to this program. So for the state food departments, they can coordinate with these food business operators, and through the fund which is allocated in the CSR, so they can take out few funds from these funds and they can arrange this training program. So if you see large FBOs, so large FBOs, they have a major catchment area. Beside investing out of the CSR funds, industries can train upstream and downstream supply chain. So guys, large FBOs, for example, take example of Britannia. So with Britannia, there would be another of stakeholders involved. For example, there would be transport company, there would be retailers, and there would be small business, small food business operators, right? So these large FBOs, they have to ensure that they impart or they provide the training to each and every whether it is small or bigger food business operator associated with them, right? So they should impart training to these FBOs. Right. So now step for implementation. So how this training program would be implemented? For example, for the ease of access and transparency, the entire training program is managed through a dedicated online portal. So guys, this program, although it's a physical activity, but all the training schedules or the certificates, they are arranged through online portal because I mean online, if at all anything is associated with computers, so efficiency ultimately increases. So to make it more efficient, and also the people who are attending the training, their attendance is also taken online. So it ensures that yeah, that person has really taken the training, right? So second point, the actual training under FOSTECH is delivered offline. As you see, the training is given offline, but majority of the things, for example, attendance, certification, and all are online, right? Or in classroom module through empaneled trainers. So FSSA has not prescribed any fee of the course. Through fee are expected and nominal, since the training content and the use of the FOSTECH portal are provided free of charge. So there is no training. There is no fee. If you see, FSA has not fixed any fee, right? So it's almost free. So however, there would be still be some cost involved, and this can be met by FPOs who employ. See, as I said, this funding would come from the bigger food business operator who have the fund in their CSR funds, right? So guys, I hope things are clear. So just give me thumbs up if things are clear to you. So then we'll talk about the next initiative, that is Clean Street Food Hub. Just let me know in the comment section if things are clear. Okay, thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you for confirming. So now we'll talk about Clean Street Food Hub. So now, guys, before going ahead, Clean Street Food Hub. So what do you understand by this? So basically, if you have seen, in every state, so there is a special street food area, right? For example, in Gujarat, there is a special area. In Madhya Pradesh, there is a special area. So we'll talk about this, right? So these to ensure safety and hygiene in the street food. So FSSAI has started a program which is known as Clean Street Food Hub. So now let's talk about this in detail. So if you see, so basically all the street food that you have, right? Be it your samosas or be it your pani puri or be it your, anything, right? So all these vendors who are who come at a particular place, who there are very famous streets in each and every state. So if you see, the objective, the initiative aims to raise quality of the street food vending to a level of the food courts. So guys, I am sure you would have gone to a mall, right? So in mall there are food courts, big food courts. So in those food courts you would have seen, they practice a high level of hygiene and high level of cleanliness. So FSSAI, their major objective is to ensure that even the street food vendors, they opt this level of hygiene and sanitary practices whenever they come in contact with the food, right? It also aims to upgrade food streets and build trust among the consumers. So definitely, if if they are following these practices, good hygienic and sanitary practices, and they are complying to all the FSSAI regulations, then this will build up the trust amongst the consumers. So consumers can go and eat. And guys, not only Indian customers, even there are a lot of food street hubs which are famous amongst the foreigners. So whenever they come to India, they can definitely, without any reservation in their mind, they can openly go and eat from these food vendors. So ultimately, this would lead to income generation as well. So FSSAI is taking a very good initiative. So if you see, now let's talk about this program in detail. So if you see, this may be defined as a hub or a cluster. So if anyone asks you what is the definition of the Clean Street Food Hub, so it is defined as a hub or cluster of vendors, shops or stalls selling popular street food. 80% of the more which represent local and regional cuisine and meet the basic and sanitary hygienic requirement in excluding fine dining. So guys, if you see clean street food hub, as I said, it is a cluster, right? There is a complete street which is full of these vendors who are selling the food. And important point is 80%. So this figure is very, very important. 80% or more of which represent local and regional cuisine, right? So for example, if you go to Maharashtra, so in Maharashtra, if you go a Khao Gali, yeah, there's a place known as Khao Gali. So in that street, you would get 80% or more of the vendors, they are selling the regional Maharashtrian cuisine, right? So similarly, if you go to West Bengal, you would find a street where all the food vendors, majority of them are selling the regional cuisine. So yeah, that is what the street clean street food hub means, right? So if it comes in the exam, so make sure you know this figure, right? And they should practice the hygiene and sanitary requirements. And this exclude fine dining. So fine dining does not come under this definition, right? So now moving ahead. So if you see, let's talk about the stakeholders who are involved in this program. So if you see, again, state food departments, they have a major role to play because they should coordinate with all the local bodies, right? And the street food vendor association, then auditing and training partners. So state food departments, they have a very, very major role to play. And then coming to the second point, local self-government, that is panchayat, municipality, municipal corporation, because ultimately, municipality is responsible for providing the potable water, proper drainage, and then they should allot a dedicated area where all these food vendors, they can go and set up their stall, right? And also waste management. So local self-government plays a very, very major role after the state food departments. Then comes the street food vendor committees. So as you know, all these street food vendors, they have a committee. So this state food department, they should also coordinate with these state food vendor committee so that they can come together and they can conjointly they can work and implement this program smoothly, right? Then comes the audit and training partner. So guys, here important thing to note is after imparting the training, then there would be an audit agency as well as training partner. So training partner would provide the training, and then there would be a final audit conducted. So after conducting the audit, then it would be decided whether there are the certification must be provided, or if there are any gaps, how those gaps can be filled, right? So then coming to the funding. So guys, again, funding plays a very, very major role, be it any field. So if you see, funds can be removed from CSR funds, and then even government bodies, local bodies, or street food committees, they can themselves take this initiative, because at the end of the day, it is going to be beneficial for these street food vendors only, because if they are ensuring clean and healthy place to eat, then definitely consumers would love to go and eat to these vendors, right? So they can themselves take the initiative. And if you see, the funding partners contribution could be acknowledged on a plaque and website. So if they are providing the fundings, then FSSAI would display the names of those funding partners on their website. So this is just a carrot which FSSAI is giving to these funding partners. So if you see the implementation, so guys, implementation, how this works, I'll just let you know. So first of all, there would be an audit before the first step would be conducting an audit. For example, there is a very famous street food in Gujarat, right? So there would be an audit conducted by FSSAI. So they would find they would find all the loopholes which are which should be covered. So after that, there would be training which would be imparted, right? Then again, there would be an audit. So audit would be conducted to ensure whether the loopholes or the gaps which were found, whether those gaps have been filled, whether these streets, they have proper you can say potable water facility, or they have a proper garbage disposal facility, or they have proper cleaning and sanitary practices. Are they following these practices? So all this audit would be conducted. So after the final audit, if you see, After the final audit, if 80% compliance is achieved, so after the final audit, if they see 80% of the parameters they are achieved, then if 80% is achieved, then in the pre-audit, the cluster may be certified as clean street food hub. So after the final audit, if 80% of the compliance is achieved, then it would be certified as a clean street food hub. There would be a proper plaque. I mean, there would be a display board. So a consumer can read the display board and they can ensure themselves that, yeah, this has been approved by FSSAI and this is a safe place to eat, right? So now let's talk about few success stories. So if you see, so far 20 have been certified, 20 street foods have been hubs have been certified. If you see, they cover in Gujarat, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, Punjab, Tamil Nadu, then Chandigarh, then Chhattisgarh. Another 19 locations are in the pipeline. And also, if you see, the street food hub have been inaugurated by CMs and other dignitaries of the states of Maharashtra and Gujarat. This is, you can skip this point. So CSR support has been extended. Yeah, so if you see the CSR support, the funding, it comes from major business houses. If you see HUL, Nestle, Jubilant Food, then Zydus, then Herbalife. So these are the major big companies which can ensure funding through CSR program, right? So now if you see, guys, the major food streets which have been certified. So the first clean street food hub certificate was provided to Kankaria, Ahmedabad. So there is a Kankaria lake. So beside that, there is a street food. So just remember this, guys. This can be asked in exam. So the first clean street food hub certificate was provided to Kankaria Street Food in Ahmedabad. This is based in Ahmedabad, Gujarat. And if you see the another, after the Kankaria street food hub, the other joints which are provided was Juhu and Chopati and Girgaon Chopati. These are in Mumbai. Then comes to Chappan Dukan, Indore, then again comes to Urban Chowk, Ahmedabad, then comes Sector 8 Market, Chandigarh. So if any of you who are attending this lecture, if are you from any of these states, just, let me know in the WhatsApp, because I would like to know more about these food streets, whether FSA has been really able to implement what they are claiming, right? So whether you are from Ahmedabad or Mumbai or Chandigarh or Indore, so after the class, just let me know whether have you visited these clean street food hubs? Have you eaten the food here? Right? Did you like the food? Did you like the hygiene and sanitary practices these clean street food hubs are following? Right? So it would be really interesting to know. So just remember these names, guys: Kankaria, then Juhu Chopati and Girgaon Chopati, Mumbai, Chappan Dukan, Urban Chowk, then Sector 8 Market, Chandigarh. Right? So these can be asked from the examination point of view. So now let's talk about the another initiative, that is Bhog. So from Bhog, if you see, the definition is blissful hygienic offering to God. So now, as I said, FSSAI is also taking under its purview all the places of worship. So as you know, Tirupati Balaji and other famous Shirdi. So there are a lot of famous these temples, right, where on large scale food is prepared. Even in all gurudwaras, langar is prepared. Even in temples, food is served, right? So and also prasadam, right? So prasad is very at large scale. Prasad is prepared and distributed amongst devotees. So FSSAI also want to ensure that all the food which is prepared in these religious places, it should be hygiene and clean. So if you see, the Bhog is an initiative to encourage place of worship to ensure health and safe welfare of the pilgrims by educating food handlers in the premises and vendors in the surrounding area to adapt to proper hygiene and sanitary. So guys, if you see the major role, if you see the major initiative behind all these programs is to ensure safe and healthy food and to train all the food handlers or the people who come in direct contact with the food. So again, even in temples or around the temples, there are a lot of vendors also. So the FSSAI would be training all these food handlers and vendors. So now if you see, the place of worship is where offering are cooked and handled and are identified, audit conducted, and basic training imparted to the food handlers. So basically, I mean, all the places where food is cooked, right, in temples. So there would be, again, audit would be conducted, gaps or loops of hole would be found. Then they would be providing the training to all these food handlers to fill all those gaps and loopholes. So ultimately, so that the food is safe and wholesome. right? Send the display of the food safety messages and the food safety display board at the premises location. So again, another initiative that FSSAI is taking is there would be a food safety display board throughout the temple, so that it inculcates the practice of hygiene and sanitary, not only among the food handlers but also among the devotees, because this is also very, very important. So after successful completion of all these steps, the identified worship place is recognized and certified. So ultimately, if all the training is imparted, all the loopholes are filled or the gaps are filled, then FSSAI would provide a certified, it would certify that premise and it would recognize them as a under a Bhog initiative, right? So now if you see, there are various stakeholders involved in this also. So guys, just remember these stakeholders, because it's very important actually, because FSSAI can ask you. So if you see, majority of the time state FDA is involved, right? Because they are the one who has to bring each and everyone together. For example, local bodies, then temple authorities, then audit and training partners. So state food department's role is to initiate this step, right? So initiation is a very, very important. So they bring all the stakeholders together. Then the local self government, for example, panchayat, municipalities, because they have to provide proper facilities again in the temples. For example, they should provide proper potable water facility, then drainage facility, removal of waste, right? So again, third point is temple board, trust or committees and association. Yeah. So every temple have a, not every, majority of temple comes under a particular board, right? Temple board. So they have to take into confidence and into trust all these temple boards. And the fourth is audit and training partner. Yeah, so again, audit and training partner, they would conduct the audit, they would find the loopholes or gaps, and then training partner would provide the training to fill all those gaps and loopholes. Then again, funding would be, again, it would come from CSR funds. Then even these temple boards or trusts, they have a lot of funds, even they can give the fund for imparting training in the temples. Right. Then if you see the success story, so under Bhog, 30 places of worship are certified across the state of Gujarat, Himachal, Chhattisgarh, Tamil Nadu, Madhya Pradesh, and another 100 places are identified in Tamil Nadu for implementation. So majority, there are a lot of temples, especially in South India. So now FSSAI, it has recognized 100 places of worship, which especially in Tamil Nadu, where they want to implement this Bhog initiative. So famous temples like Shri Mahakal Mandir, then Ujjain, it's in Ujjain, Ujjain temple in MP, then Shri Ram Mandir in Raipur, Chhattisgarh, they have implemented this Bhog initiative, right? So now let's move ahead. So now let's talk about trans fat free. So guys, as I told you yesterday, trans fat is very, very dangerous for us, right? Because it can lead to atherosclerosis. Ultimately, atherosclerosis is nothing but it's a blockage of your artery. So if there is any blockage, it could lead to heart disease or a heart attack in severe cases. So now FSSAI, they want to completely remove the trans fat from our diet, right? So now FSSAI has set up few deadlines for it. If you see, FSSAI's goal is to eliminate industrially produced trans fat from the food supply chain by 2022. So by next year, FSSAI want that the industrially produced trans fat, for example, guys, if you see the normal oil, it can also be converted into hydrogenated oil. So hydrogenated oil is nothing but a full lump of trans fat. So it can be made hydrogenated by adding the hydrogen, right? Hydrogen gas. So now FSSAI, they want to completely eliminate the practice of using hydrogenated oil from the food chain by 2022, that is by next year. And it is a year ahead of the goal which is set by World Health Organization. So World Health Organization is aiming to remove the trans fat by 2023, but FSSAI, it's very ambitious. They have promised to remove the trans fat from our diet by 2022, thus making India trans fat free in its 75th year of independence. So next year in 2022, as you know, we are celebrating 75th year of independence. So FSSAI has taken this step to free us from the trans fat, so that the heart attack cases can go down, right? So now, guys, the major, if you see, poor lifestyle and diet along with the consumption of trans fat, especially the industrially produced trans fat, has emerged as a major risk of cardiovascular disease. As you know, poor lifestyle. I mean, a lot of people are working now. Office lifestyle is very, very poor, right? I mean, sitting posture is not right, eating habits are not right. So poor lifestyle along with the high transport consumption of diet, it's causing major risks factor to our, especially to the cardiovascular diseases. So now if you see, what are trans fats? So trans fats are particularly found in hydrogenated vegetable oils, especially vanaspati. As I said, vanaspati is very, very dangerous. Vanaspati is majorly obtained from vegetables, but then to make it solid, it's a hydrogen gas is added into it. That is why it's known as hydrogenated, right? So hydrogenation is done, that is hydrogen gas is added. So this make it very, very I mean dangerous, right? Then again, margarine, then bakery shortening. So guys, next time when you eat any pastry or any cake, so make sure you are consuming a lot of bakery shortenings and margarine in that. So please try to consume or try to cut down on the eating of these pastries or ice creams or any of these delicacies, because these could contain vanaspati or these bakery shortenings which are very, very dangerous. And food produced which are prepared from these hydrogenated oils like bakery products, as I said, biscuits, then cakes, then your pancakes, then your bhatura. These are our desi foods, bhatura, samosas, and all other oily foods majorly. So try to avoid vanaspati ghee especially, right? So now whenever you eat a packet of biscuit, so just find out if vanaspati is used, and I can vouch for it. In I mean, 95% of biscuits which you eat, they use vanaspati, because vanaspati is very, very cheap. So that is the place where they do the cost cutting, right? These food business operators. So now ensure you eat these foods, but in very, very, in a very, very moderation, right? So if you see, a small amount of trans fat is also is generated when cooking oil is used by repeated frying. So guys, even whenever you eat samosa from your local your local sweet guy, so now you would see he would use the oil repeatedly. Even in those repeat frying, there's a lot of trans fats which get generated. So make sure to eat this food occasionally, right? So currently FSSAI limits the trans fatty acid content not more than 5%. So now this data is of 2018, if you see, because in 2019 this limit has come to 2%. So before 2019, 5% of the oils, these can be trans fats. Trans fatty acid could be used. This limit was set by FSSAI as 5%. But in 2019, FSSAI revised this limit. Now only 2% of the trans fats can be used in the food products which uses edible oil and fats as an ingredient, right? So now if you see, guys, the major stakeholders who are involved in this program. So now in trans fat program, so if you see again the state food departments, they have a major role to play because they are the one who has to take the initiative and implement the campaign and carry out surveillance and regulatory action. So now guys, here their role is changing. If you see, now they have to go and conduct this surveillance and regulatory actions must be taken, right? So now FSSAI, all the state food departments, they must regularly go on surveillance to these small street shops, street food vendors, all the restaurants, or all the sweet shops. So to ensure that they are not using the oil regularly. I mean, they are not using the oil repeatedly, because after third usage, as per the FSSAI guidelines, that oil should be given to the given for production of the biofuel, right? So they should not use it again and again, because this could lead to generation of trans fat. So trans fat can ultimately be very, very fatal to us, right? Then edible oil industry. So ultimately, FSSAI, I mean these state food FDA departments, they should also encourage the this edible oil industry to promote trans fat free oils and fats and carry out responsible advertisement. So advertisement is very, very important, because sometimes they advertise it a heart safety, health safety, but these are not it's not a case, because it has trans fat. So now FSSAI is also cracking down on these edible industries. So they are encouraging them to be a responsible food business operators, instead of just selling the food and making the profit, Right. So now coming to the third stakeholders, so food industry and the vendors and the retailers. So again here, the people who cook the food, right? It would be industry. For example, you eat chips, then you go to McD, you eat burgers, you eat French fries. So all these food business operators, they should also be given a responsibility, right? They should also be engaged so that ultimately they are the one who are cooking the food. And it's not in our capacity to every day go and check them, right? So now FSSAI also taking them on board. Then the fourth stakeholder would be health and food and nutrition association. Yeah, I mean they can also create they can create awareness on the adverse health effect of the trans fat and way to eliminate it from our diet. So all these health, food and nutrition associations, they can spread awareness among the consumers and also among the people who make food out of this using this oil, right? Then media, I mean media can play a very very big role, right? Print media, electronic media, and especially the social media. So I mean awareness campaigns can be run on all these platforms to reach the maximum consumers. So if you see success story, so guys, I'm sure you would have seen a heart attack rewind. This was a video which was regularly played by FSSAI in the theaters. I'm talking about of the year 2018 and 17. So also if you go on YouTube and if you type heart attack rewind, so I mean FSSAI has created a very good video which completely shows how you can avoid trans fat from your food and how it can be dangerous and how it can be beneficial, right? So just go and type heart attack rewind after this class in YouTube, so you will find a video. So just watch that video. So if you see, almost 3.4 crore people were reached. So FSSAI made this video and they posted it on social media and also in theaters. So almost 3.4 crore people were trained, right? So if you see voluntary commitment to create awareness and phase out trans fat by 2020, as I said, by 2022, FSSAI is planning to completely eliminate the trans fat from our diet. And it was also signed by the edible oil industry. So as I said, all the stakeholders are coming together on a single platform so that health of the consumer can be a priority, right? So now guys, let's talk about food safety on wheel. So guys, if you see this initiative, it's a very good initiative. So food safety on wheel is nothing but a van which is fitted with latest analysis equipment. So now, for example, rural areas. So in rural areas, it is not possible for FSSAI or even the state FDA departments to regularly go and conduct surveillance and audit, right? So now this food safety on wheels, this van, as I said, it is equipped with high-end devices or the equipments to check the adulteration or contamination in the food, especially in the rural areas. And also this van is also used for providing training. Remember we talked about FOSTEC. So for the FOSTEC program, it is not possible to reach in rural areas. So this food safety on wheels, this van, they have one technical officer and they have one food analyst in this van. So they are responsible for providing the training to the food vendors and also checking the samples, collecting the samples from the rural areas, right? So now if you see a series of innovative tools, including the mobile testing lab, portable testing kits, and guidance booklet to empower the consumer to deal with the adulteration has been created by FSSAI, right? So taking testing facilities to remote areas is a challenge. As I said, reaching the remote area, rural area is a very big challenge because till date, FSSAI or the state FDS, they don't have that much infrastructure or the funds to reach the rural areas. So now they have come up with a very good initiative, very out of the box idea to launch this street food food safety on wheels, right? So to address the issue, that is the lack of testing infrastructure in the remote areas, as I said, there is lack of infrastructure in our remote areas, and to cater to the basic analytical testing needs of the consumer, FSSAI set up a mobile food testing laboratory called Food Safety on Wheels. So now let's talk about more this food safety on wheels. So if you see, the food safety on wheel perform three key functions. So guys, remember this can be asked in the exam. So three main roles of the food safety on wheel is testing. So it would go and test all the food samples in the area. And training, as I said, it will also provide the training to the for all the food business operators or all these street food vendors in the rural area, because reaching these vendors or the food business operators in rural area through fast track training program is not possible at the point. And also awareness generation, so it would also spread awareness among the consumers, right, through videos, through posters, or through plays, or I mean other resources, right? So if you see, mobile lab is equipped with basic testing infrastructure plus training facility, including LED screens, then awareness material like videos, audios, flyers, and other manuals, right? And food safety on wheel also being used for cold chain logistic. Yeah, and another important function, if you see, it also acts as a cold chain logistic. How it can take the samples if they find any FBO in the rural area, they are contaminating or adulterating the food. So these food safety on wheels, they can safely collect the samples. They can store it in the cold space or the refrigerator that they have in this van, so that it can be transported to the cities, so the bigger labs which are in the cities. So it acts as a cold chain logistic for the movement of regulatory and surveillance samples to the to the major labs which are in the cities, right? So now let's talk about, guys, another initiative of the FSSAI, that is food safety magic box. So if you see, this is a small magic box. It is nothing but a testing kit. So this kit is provided to the school going students, so that they can conduct basic food testing and adulteration test in their labs. So it is nothing but a testing kit. So FSSAI has given it a name of food safety magic box. So it is self-contained portable food testing kit and is useful as a pedagogical tool for school going children in primary health center or the front line health workers. So you remember we talked about yesterday, we spoke about Eat Right Campus, then Eat Right Toolkit, Eat Right School. So all these individuals involved in those programs, they can use the food safety magic box, because this box, it contains very simple chemicals which can be used every day in our life for testing the food which are adulterated. So if you see, magic box is a small sized lightweight box that contains few basic chemicals, small instruments, and safety gadgets. It has also a companion guidance book. So it is also given with a guidance book which can easily guide an individual how to conduct those basic tests. And also, guys, if you want to conduct a food adulteration test at your home, there is a book known as DART book that is given by FSSAI. So DART is detection of adulteration with rapid test. So you can download the DART book, and also I have shared it in my previous links. So you can just conduct a, if you are curious to know more about how adulteration happens, so you just go through that book and carry out those simple experiment at your home, right? So if you see, a total of 102. So this magic box, it is so strong that it can help to conduct 102 simple tests which can be performed with the help of magic box. So guys, can you imagine 102 tests? Adulteration test can be carried out with this small kit, right? Including the test to determine adulterants like water, urea, detergent, starch, pulverized soap in milk, and even starch and artificial color in spices, condiments, and then mineral acids in beverages, then adulteration in sugar and honey. So basic tests, these can be conducted with the help of food safety magic box. Right. So now, guys, let's talk about Javik Bharat. So I also spoke about this Javik Bharat initiative. So this is related to the organic food. So guys, whenever there's a term organic used with any product, be it food or be it any product, so that its price goes, it becomes double, right? For example, if you go and buy any vegetable today from a normal shop, it would cost you, for example, say 10 rupees. But if the same food, if you buy it as a under organic logo, then its price increases, right? It becomes almost double or triple, right? The same food which you are buying in 10 rupees, with the help of organic logo, it can be sold as, right? It can be sold in 30 rupees. So now let's talk about this Javik Bharat logo. What is this initiative? Yeah. So if you see, organic food are grown in the system of agriculture without the use of chemicals, fertilizer, and pesticide, with environmentally and socially responsible approach. So organic foods are nothing. These are foods where chemical fertilizers are not used, but on those place, organic manure is used. And also, as you know, Indian market is growing as for organic foods are in demand. Also, as a consumer, Indians are demanding these foods, organic foods, but also India is also exporting it to different countries. So those countries, they ask for the organic certifications, because certification is very, very important for the developed countries like US and Europe. So now FSSAI has come with this initiative, so they would be providing the certification. So if on the certification, if this logo is provided, Javik Bharat logo, so it means this product is 100% organic and genuine because it has been certified by Government of India. Right. So now, if you see, Section 22 of the FSSAI Act has the mandate to regulate the manufacturing, distribution, and sale and import of the organic food. So if you read Section 22 of the FSSAI Act, so it talks about the organic food. So in that, it has covered everything, be it manufacturing, be it distribution or sale or import of organic food. So they should adhere to certain organic requirements which are set up by the FSSAI. And also in FSS organic regulations. So FSS has given these regulations in 2017 in an official gadget, where the food business operator is required to comply with all the provisions of this regulation. So whoever is claiming that their food is organic, so the certification would only be provided if that if that agriculture, if that farmer is complying to all these regulations, organic regulations, which are released by FSSAI in 2017. Only then their produce would be certified as organic. So now, guys, again, this is very, very basic. Who are the stakeholders? Then again, if you see, state food commissioners, now they have a very, very major role to play, because they should ensure that all the mandatory labeling requirements are fulfilled and organic food is displayed separately from the conventional food. So this is very, very important. Organic food cannot be displayed with the conventional food. Organic food stall, or wherever the organic food is sold, it should be completely separated from the normal food. So even FBOs plays a major role. They have to ensure that they get the organic food certified from PGS. So now, guys, in India, there are two ways to obtain this Javik Bharat logo or to obtain the organic certification. The first is Participatory Guarantee Scheme of India. So this scheme is run by Government of India. Either they can obtain the certification from this body, that is known as Participation Guarantee System of India, or from the NPOP, that is National Program for Organic Production. So just remember these two names, because these are very, very important. They can be asked in exam. So if tomorrow you want to obtain organic certification, just reach these two initiatives, or to these companies. They can give you this certification, right? That is NPOP, Participatory Guarantee Scheme, and the National Program for Organics Production, right? So then comes the accreditation certification bodies. So if you see, NPOP as an authorized under the program to certified organic producer. So now the certification bodies, there are certain certification body who provide this NPOP. So once the certification is provided, then your food is marked as organic, and you can sell it in the local market or in the regional or in the foreign markets, right? And again, these are very, very basic. FBOs must get registered with themselves with the PGS or the NPOP. Then certification would be provided, and then you can sell it. So this is very basic. You can just go through it. So now coming to the RUCO. RUCO initiative is again a very, very good initiative of the FSSAI. So if you see the example, if you see the full form, it is repurpose used cooking oil. So now FSSAI has clearly said, don't use cooking oil more than 3 times. And if you are using it more than 3 times, you can be penalized. So rather you should give it to the companies who are producing biofuel, right? So FBOs often use the cooking oil for repeated frying. So this is not good. As I said, in the repeated frying, TPCs, total polar compounds develop, and these compounds are associated with such diseases like hypertension, atherosclerosis, Alzheimer's disease, then liver disease. So this initiative is to this cooking oil, it should also not be discarded or disposed in the environment, because it can again lead to clogging of the drains and sewerage system. So now FSSAI, they wants all these restaurants and dhabas or the roads food side vendors, because what happens is sometimes these bigger FBOs, they also resell after using it 3 times. They resell it to the small restaurants and dhabas and roadside vendors. I mean, these are the heights, right? You are using it 3 times, then you are selling it at half a price. You are making the money out of even that bad oil, and that bad oil ultimately we are consuming, and they are playing with our health, right? So all these activities were happening in our market. So that is why FSSAI it came up with the initiative, that is RUCO initiative. So if you see here, the this used cooking oil, it is obtained by these manufacturing companies who produce biodiesel or soap making. So to harness the potential at this scale, FSSAI has launched this initiative and the ecosystem to enable the collection and conversion of UCO to biodiesel. So guys, last time a question was asked from this topic, very, very important. So I'll let you know which question was asked once we are done with this. So if you see in this, the major stakeholders involved are Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, then Pollution Conservation Reservation Research Association, then all the food business operator, oil marketing companies, biodiesel manufacturer, biodiesel boards, and Biodiesel Association of India. So all these stakeholders, they must come together so that this program can be successfully implemented. And fourth, FSSAI, yeah, FSSAI again, it plays a major role, right? And also food safety commissioners. So food safety commissioners, they need to go on regular surveillance to ensure that this food business operator, they are not using the food, this oil on regular basis after 3 times, right? So success stories, if you see, RUCO was formally inaugurated in state of Gujarat on 4th September 2018. This program was launched in Gujarat. And if you see, within a short span of time, FSSAI empaneled 16 biodiesel manufacturers. So 15 biodiesel manufacturers are already associated with this program. And these biodiesel manufacturers have come so far, collected 55 liters of used cooking oils. Can you imagine 55 lakhs liter of used cooking oil, which would otherwise would have been used in cooking the food, and which would have again made the population of India very, very ill. So under this initiative, such a huge amount of oil has been used, and 30 lakh liter of biodiesel has been already made from using this oil. And biodiesel, as you know, petrol rates are already going very, very high. So now if biodiesel is produced on a larger scale, then it can be blended with the normal petrol and the rates can come down, right? So if you see in Haryana alone, so 5,000 kg of used cooking oil is used, from thousands of restaurants, is collected every day and converted into biodiesel. So now if you see the last year, the question was asked, Indian Institute of Petroleum, Dehradun, has conducted pilot trial to test the convert cooking oil into, its answer was bioaviation turbine fuel. So now Indian Institute of Petroleum in Dehradun, they are using this used cooking oil, and they are making the bioaviation turbine fuel, that this fuel is used in aircrafts. So now if you can imagine, if from this oil, if they are making the bioaviation fuel, then flights can be very, very cheap, right? So guys, that's it. I hope you would have enjoyed the lecture. So this was very, very interesting topic, and even I enjoyed while making these presentations, and I'm sure even you would have enjoyed. So in case you have any doubt, just contact me on this WhatsApp number. Otherwise, we will see you tomorrow. So guys, thank you so much. Thank you for your attention and patience. We'll see you tomorrow then, right? So good night, guys. Study hard, enjoy. Good night.